From ABC News headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening. I'm Dan Harris. Major new findings tonight about the safety of drugs that millions of Americans take for depression. That's our top story. First, though, the rest of the day's headlines. 2006 comes in like a lion in California. A second and more powerful storm is about to hit. One day after the first storm made the rivers rise and the mud slide. Is this Washington power broker about to name names on Capitol Hill? Tonight, predictions that Jack Abramoff's bribery case will blossom into the biggest scandal in congressional history. And about Face, an experienced foreign correspondent no longer content to simply cover world events. Why he's trading in the pen for the sword and joining the Marines. But first, on this New Year's Day, striking new evidence that the most widely used drugs to treat depression in this country are safe and do not increase the risk of suicide. Two just-released studies shed new light on Prozac and similar antidepressants. 19 million Americans suffer from depression every year, and 16% of the people in this country will have serious depression at some point in their lives. But many of the most popular drugs have been under a cloud recently, which is why today's findings are big news in the medical community. ABC's Bob Jameson has details.
They are the first independent studies of antidepressants funded by the federal government, not drug makers, which scientists say give them added credibility. Covered by the study were the most widely prescribed brands: Prozac, Paxil, and Zoloft, Celexa, Lexapro, Effexor, Remeron, and Wellbutrin. One study of nearly 3,000 adults found that 33% with serious depression had full remission within weeks. The second of 65,000 people concluded antidepressants not only don't increase the risk of suicide, but lower it by almost 60%.
The main messages for people who are taking antidepressants or considering taking antidepressants are that the risk of a serious suicide attempt or dying by suicide after starting one of these medicines is quite low.
And the risk is lowered not only for adults, but for teens as well, thought until now to be the age group most at risk. Researchers say the study leads to a simple equation.
The biggest cause of suicide is untreated depression, and that by treating depression, one decreases the rate of suicide.
But the FDA's black box warning on antidepressants is blamed for a drop last year in prescriptions. Today, some believe it needs to be changed. But the FDA doesn't seem ready to change its warning, saying the studies are reassuring, but that they don't settle the issue. The issue is settled for Sherry Walton of Phoenix. Walton says her daughter Jordan, now 16, was depressed and had suicidal thoughts. Despite the warning, she decided to put Jordan on antidepressants.
It's been a lifesaver for me, for my children, for Jordan especially.
Once I was on the medication, things just started to get better.
She wouldn't be here as beautiful as she is, as active as she is, as successful as she is, if it wasn't for those medications.
Both the FDA and the study's authors agree the use of antidepressants should still be carefully monitored because they are often misused. Bob Jameson, ABC News, New York.
And you can find more on depression, including a promising but unconventional treatment that employs magnets, at the Broadcast Plus section of our website. Log on to WNT.abcnews.com. The beginning of 2006 means millions of senior citizens can now get prescription drug benefits through Medicare. Pharmacists say tomorrow may be their busiest day of the year, with many seniors coming in with many questions about their plans. While 43 million seniors are eligible, only 1 million have actually signed up voluntarily for what some people consider one of the most confusing government benefits ever. ABC's John Yang has more.
Let's do the cost comparison here.
Eileen Rothstein and her husband Paul have just spent the afternoon comparing drug plans.
Well, I'm not 100% confused. I'm only 50% confused. It's like playing bridge. For every rule, there's exceptions, and it's I don't know how people are going to do it.
How many prescription medications are you taking each month?
In fact, relatively few have done it. Choose from among dozens of plans from private insurers. Different premiums, different deductibles, even different drugs covered. But Medicare officials say there's still plenty of time. Enrollment ends May 15th. They're now running TV ads encouraging people to help their moms and dads.
I just made up for 40 years of disappointing my parents.
Medicare officials say one of the most efficient ways to sort through all the options is on the internet. But 75% of seniors say they've never even been online. So some groups are bringing the computers to them.
That big out-of-pocket.
At this synagogue, counselors help seniors use Medicare's Plan Finder website, intended to ease the confusion. Some brought their children.
Did you get that? Not really.
Not that it's so easy for the children either.
So only Prevacet's in the high tier?
Deborah Kroll, who runs a law clinic for seniors, came with her mother, Selma.
I'm a nervous wreck because I'm going to lead people astray, I'm afraid. Today is the clearest that I've ever had it before.
Help from children on a computer? Not for Helen Garb. Would you ask someone,
No,
a daughter?
No.
For her, it's all about pride.
Okay, Mommy, you come and sit here like a good little girl, and I'm going to learn this program, and then I am going to show you how to do it. This is demoralizing.
She'll decide all by herself, maybe waiting until the last minute. And those seeking help, like Eileen Rothstein?
How does this whole process make you feel?
Sick. I need coverage now, don't I?
John Yang, ABC News, Abington, Pennsylvania.
In California tonight, the extreme wet weather is far from over. The state is already dealing with flooding, mudslides, and closed highways after a storm dumped more than 7 inches of rain in some areas. Now there's another storm on the way, and it is threatening not only northern California, but the entire state and much of the west coast. ABC's Brian Rooney is in Napa tonight.
Let's see.
At Kelly Novak's restaurant here on Pearl Street in Napa, the table is set for the New Year's Eve dinner that never was. The cooler is full of food never cooked, and the menu is a memory.
We're going to give everybody champagne and new potatoes with sour cream, caviar, and chive.
The name of her restaurant, Kelly's No Bad Days. Really. Several downtown streets were flooded here, and a few hundred homes. Tony Gonzalez had just remodeled and moved into a house near the Napa River.
I had guest feet to sit on my new couch. My new bed, I never even slept in the bed.
The floods that hit early yesterday took many people by surprise. They had to be rescued from flooded cars and taken by boat from surrounded homes. On the Russian River, closer to the coast, large parts of the town of Guerneville flooded yet again. They live with it, but never get used to it.
I believe we've lost everything now. It's at the ceilings of in our homes.
Rowan Smith left so quickly with her family, she left behind all her Christmas presents.
My sister and my brother got me some stuff for Christmas, and I was in such a hurry I forgot it. I left it behind at the house, and now I can't get it back, you know? And if that floats away, it's like something I can't replace.
As bad as it is in California, it is worse in Reno, Nevada, hit by some of the worst flooding it's had in 10 years. This afternoon, storm clouds gathered again over San Francisco. More rain is expected tonight. North of Los Angeles, hills stripped by wildfire pose a danger of mudslide. And in Pasadena, they're preparing for what may be a very wet Rose Parade tomorrow.
We're going to imagine that it's not coming, and we're praying that it just kind of passes over us.
There are still flash flood warnings all over Northern California, but the river levels are dropping. A new storm is passing over us right now. You can see it's raining. And Dan, there is a larger storm over Los Angeles.
So, Brian, what are they most worried about with this new storm?
Well, up here, they are worried that the rivers will not have enough time to drain out before there is another major downfall. It's possible this is a smaller storm. It might not happen. Down in Los Angeles, the first time you get a major downpour after you've had some burn areas, you might get mudslides. That's always a concern.
Brian, thank you. That's Brian Rooney reporting from Napa, California tonight. And now to the drought in parts of Texas and Oklahoma, where today fire crews are once again confronting large wildfires, which are fueled by strong winds. This grass fire in Tulsa was just one of the blazes burning today, on the heels of last week's major fires that burned more than 30,000 acres and many homes. Still ahead here on World News Tonight, the man once known as the king of lobbyists may now be preparing to unleash a major bribery scandal in Congress. Why the makers of some popular snacks are scrambling to make their products healthier for the new year. And a call to arms, one reporter's radical, risky career change.
This is World News Tonight, brought to you by Nexium.
Jack Abramoff, for years one of the most powerful lobbyists in Washington, is expected to cut a deal this week with federal prosecutors. They are investigating what's likely to be one of the biggest influence peddling scandals in congressional history. The potential that Abramoff will cooperate is making some people in Congress very nervous. ABC's Jeff Morrell has that story.
If you wanted something done in Congress, lobbyist Jack Abramoff was the man to see. His access and influence with lawmakers earned him millions of dollars. But prosecutors believe he used that money to bribe members of Congress and are now pressuring him to name names.
I think people are going to be amazed when they learn the extent of the bribery that Jack Abramoff was involved with members of Congress.
Over the past 5 years, Abramoff and his associates have contributed more than $4 million to the campaigns of nearly 300 politicians. There's nothing illegal about that unless, as prosecutors believe, Abramoff had an explicit understanding with some lawmakers that in exchange for his big bucks, they would do big favors for his clients, especially casino-rich Indian tribes.
There's a fine line between a political contribution and a bribe. But that fine line is what is the difference between going to jail or returning to Congress. The question is whether or not there was an explicit quid pro quo.
To get to the bottom of it, prosecutors are working their way up the food chain. They have already forced Michael Scanlon, Abramoff's most trusted business partner, to plead guilty to fraud and bribery charges. In return for a reduced prison sentence, Scanlon is now helping prosecutors put the squeeze on Abramoff, who in turn is expected to help the feds go after corrupt congressmen. Some fear this bribery scandal could be even more widespread than Abscam, when in the late 70s, the FBI caught 6 lawmakers on tape accepting money for votes.
In this case, there was no trickery. There was no government. This isn't the Justice Department trying to set up people. You know, this is people caught up in the web of their own greed.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Ohio rise?
Tonight, the only lawmaker known to be under scrutiny is Republican Bob Ney of Ohio, but several others are scrambling to distance themselves from Abramoff. Montana Senator Conrad Burns, who raked in nearly $60,000 from the disgraced lobbyist, now says, "I hope Abramoff goes to jail and we never see him again. I wish he had never been born."
I think by the time this is over, this is going to be the biggest congressional scandal in history.
Abramoff is due in court on Tuesday. Sources say a judge has given him until then to cut a deal or go to trial on fraud and bribery charges next week. Now, Dan, if, as expected, Abramoff cuts that deal, experts believe a flurry of subpoenas will arrive here on Capitol Hill soon thereafter as prosecutors hone in on lawmakers.
As we said, a lot of people nervous on Capitol Hill tonight. Jeff, thank you. That's Jeff Morrell reporting from Capitol Hill tonight. And there are reports today that high-level officials at the Justice Department objected to the administration's controversial domestic spying program. But President Bush defended the program again today. Speaking in San Antonio, where he visited wounded troops, he said, if someone from Al-Qaeda is calling you, we want to know why. And he said whoever leaked word of this secret program caused great harm to the nation. And doctors in Atlanta are evaluating baby Noor tonight, the Iraqi infant with severe birth defects brought to this country for life-saving surgery. The congregation of a church in suburban Atlanta honored the 3-month-old at its service today. They raised money for baby Noor to come here. American soldiers found her during a raid near Baghdad. And when we come back, the fine print on your food labels is changing as of today, and so is the food inside. Tonight we're going to take a closer look at the fine print on food labels. This new year brings a number of government-ordered changes to the health labels on foods. Perhaps most prominently, companies will now have to say how much trans fat their products contain. As ABC's Lisa Stark explains, that information could be a real lifesaver for consumers.
It's just one new line in the label, but an important one. Trans fat is considered the unhealthiest kind of fat. It increases the risk of heart attack. Now shoppers will know how much a product contains.
Consumers now can look at labels. If it says trans fat on the label with a number other than 0, look for a better product. Look for a healthier product.
Trans fat comes from partially hydrogenated oil. It increases the shelf life of baked and processed foods. The new labeling rule has companies scrambling, spending billions to come up with an alternative.
I don't know of a company that hasn't looked at reformulating its products to reduce or eliminate trans fat.
Orville Redenbacher's microwave popcorn will soon be trans fat free. So too the popular Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies. And Kraft has reworked 650 of its foods. A product can claim to have zero trans fat if it contains a half a gram or less.
Consumers should have the information that they need to have healthier diets.
Trans fat information is absolutely critical. It's one of the things to let you know whether you should get the product or not.
The FDA warns consumers to be wary of more than just trans fat.
What we regard as very important for consumers to keep in mind when they're looking at that trans fat information on the label, to be sure and look at the saturated fat and the cholesterol as well.
The FDA estimates that this new rule and the resulting changes in how products are made will prevent as many as 1,200 cases of heart disease and up to 500 deaths a year.
There may be other label changes on the horizon. The FDA is considering whether to make the calorie count more prominent and whether to more accurately reflect nutritional information on supersized products. More for consumers to chew over. Lisa Stark, ABC News, Washington.
And one sports note tonight, Doug Flutie, a backup quarterback for the New England Patriots, added another oddity to his football resume today when he converted a drop kick for an extra point after a touchdown. This happened in the fourth quarter of the Patriots game against the Miami Dolphins. It was the first time that a drop kick has happened in the NFL since 1941, and as the announcer said, since the days when they were wearing leather helmets. As always, we like to tell you about events to keep an eye on in the coming week. So on Wednesday here on ABC, USC and Texas play for college football's national championship. And on Thursday, the all-important holiday sales figures for retailers will be announced. And on Friday, a judge in Louisiana will hold a hearing that could determine when the demolition of thousands of ruined homes in New Orleans will begin. Coming up next, talk about your New Year's resolutions. This one's more like a New Year's revolution. One reporter's decision to stop reporting on the world's events and to start taking part in them. He's joining the Marines. On this New Year's Day, many of us will make, and in short order, break all sorts of resolutions. Our final story tonight is about a man who's made a resolution that will not be easy to rescind. He is a reporter who is no longer so sure that the pen is mightier than the sword. So he's joined the Marines.
The life of a reporter versus the life of someone in the military, it is a radical departure.
In 7 years covering China for the Wall Street Journal, Matt Pottinger got a sense of how rare American liberties are in the world, especially when he was arrested for writing about corruption.
I was standing over a toilet with a bunch of Chinese policemen standing around me, shredding my notebook page by page and flushing it down a toilet.
It's hard to pinpoint the exact genesis of his decision to join the Marines. Maybe it was the murder of his colleague, Daniel Pearl. Maybe it was the night he saw a video on the web of the beheading of an American in Iraq.
And I watched it, and it was so obscene and so deeply disturbing to me that I felt a bit of the terror.
Not long after that, he found himself wandering around the Intrepid Museum, a decommissioned aircraft carrier anchored in New York City, looking for the Marine Officers Recruiting Center.
This is it. Yeah.
Inside, they told him he'd be facing some pretty tough physical requirements, especially for a 32-year-old.
Maximum score is 18 minutes for a 3-mile run, 100 crunches, which are like sit-ups, in 2 minutes, and then 20 pull-ups.
First time you tried one, you got halfway, that's it.
It was pathetic.
Initially, Pottinger was discouraged, but the deal was sealed when he covered the Asian tsunami and saw firsthand the Marines leading the relief effort.
Watching U.S. Marines and other military personnel on the ground helping people there amid that devastation, and it's really indescribable what we saw there.
He started training hard, and eventually he was able to come back to the Intrepid and run the 3 miles in a passable time.
Sort of foaming like a mad dog, and I ended up throwing up all over the tarmac. I, Matthew Forbes Pottinger.
He made it into Officers Candidate School, and 2 weeks ago he graduated.
So help me God. I wanted to actually be participating in an incredibly important period in our history, as opposed to just observing and reporting events. I didn't want to watch the movie and not have a part in it.
It's an honor, you know, to get somebody from the dark side to come over there.
He realizes the consequences of trading the pen for the sword.
There is a very good chance that I'm going to end up in Iraq. I'm scared. I'm a bit scared, but I think anyone who would end up facing combat would be scared.
For the record, Matt Pottinger wanted it pointed out that he's now running 3 miles in a little over 18 minutes. You can see more of our interview on our website at wnt.abcnews.com. And that is World News Tonight for this Sunday. I'm Dan Harris. Thanks for watching, and Happy New Year.